This is Loremaster's Arcanum number 32. I'll say it again in a moment, but crazy, hard to believe, and this is entitled Shorwyn, Sir Harn, Cavaliers, Squires, and I left out, but heraldry might also happen here tonight. We'll see.
So, funny story about heraldry. My first project in graduate school for scene design class, I did a project design for Hamlet, and the design used heraldry for the houses, and I sat there and did about a week's worth of heraldry, how to state heraldry correctly, what everything means in heraldry. It's fascinating stuff.
No, so hopefully we'll get to that tonight, and I'd love to talk about that more. Hey, Tim, Keith, good to see you both. They call me Tim, the ever mysterious, first in tonight, and Roger, Keith right behind him, and good to see you both. Heraldry is a great topic, and hopefully we'll get there tonight. But you know, the meaning, the purpose behind it. It was such an important part of the history of humanity. So, like, give a preview of the Terry sort of master class in the university about heraldry and what it means.
Well, it was a long time ago, but what I remember about it is, you know, when you look at heraldic coat of arms or anything like that, everything on there has a meaning. Every color, every line, every motif, every icon has a very specific meaning. And generally when you see them more split, the more splits it have, it tends to be more families that are coming together, because each of those splits is another family being added into the coat of arms. But it's really interesting. But what I found really interesting is when you there's a certain way to say a coat of arms. I mean, there are certain words that you use and how you describe a coat of arms, and it's really fascinating stuff when you dig into it. And coat of arms are still used. Heraldry is still used today. You can still find it across Europe, especially. But it's fascinating stuff.
No, well said. And I hope we get there tonight, because that'd be a fun topic for us. Hey, Patrick, good to see you as well. And we're going to kick off here in just a moment.
I like the music.
Well, thank you.
It's funny, when I was doing this was back in 2001, so you didn't just go to Google and research it. You had to actually look in books.
Exactly.
Books? Nonsense.
No.
What are these books you speak of? What manner of tomes are these? Hey, Jeremy, good to see Hayer the Horrible on tonight. Hail to you as well, my friend.
Yeah, they call me Tim. That's what I was talking about, is exactly how you say it is. It's very specific, which I think is cool. But I'm a weirdo like that.
So could Shorwyn elucidate his arms? I'd appreciate it.
I'd have to go back and look at the actual image and... let me see if I can remember any of this.
So Jeremy Hager said, oh, hey, Anna B. Meyer, good to see you. His entire degree is on Wikipedia. That's awesome.
I love that. Wikipedia is good if you go down and go to where everything
The
is
footnotes?
cited. Yep.
That's the best place to go. That's what I learned in college. Go to the footnotes and find the actual texts to work from, because they got it somewhere, so.
Somewhere, exactly. That's right. All right, so let's go to the official colors. I'll research it and do you right. Yes, Tim, thank you. All right, so we're going to go to sponsors real quick here. And first thing we want to talk about is GaryCon. Oh, my soul. It is coming up in merely 8 days now. And we'll have the first GHA on GaryCon that Thursday. And then it kicks off a great 4-day weekend. So please join us. If you've not yet signed up, get your pass. Be part of Ethereal, not virtual, much cooler to say ethereal, GaryCon, coming up next week. And thank you to Evelyn. We have this great schedule lined out for you if you want to see any Blue Box sessions. So you've got Thursday at 2 p.m. Central, 3 Eastern. And then you've got, hang on here, let me let Jay in. I guess I should let him in. We got Saturday, 6 in the morning on Saturday, but you set your alarm because at 6 a.m. on Saturday, it's going to be me, Evelyn, I think Vivi, and for sure Tim, the ever mysterious Tim, will be with us Saturday morning before his session goes live, talking about old school combat, the armor, the strategy on the battlefield, and the things that were medieval in nature, which transcend all editions. And it's going to be a great chat for us at 6 a.m. on Saturday. Then we got our 1 p.m. Central one shot, and it's already filled up. A great group. It's going to be a fun time. And then we'll cap it off with another GHA session on Sunday, March 28th. And of course, we are now joined by Lord. No, not just Jay. Lord Gazumba. Lord Gazumba, Jay, hey, welcome, my friend. And
hello.
no one can see you yet. All they can do is hear you.
Okay.
So talk to us about GaryCon and all that's coming up. It's going to be a great week, and I'm going to switch over where they can see you in a moment.
Well, I still have hair. I may have to pull it all out by the time this is over, but it is. We have 4 days of 24-hour coverage starting Thursday morning. Starting with Mike Disney that morning, and working our way through multiple events of all different streamers. So we have. I know you have 4 events. I have like 7. Carlos and Will and Trollord Games and Time Lord's Wife and Stella Luna and oh my gosh, Praetor's Rejects, Nightheart Gaming. just a huge group of wonderful people that are participating with us, and plus all the events that are going on that aren't being streamed by like Katana Lefavi and Prometheus and Les Reno. Oh my gosh, it's just Alan Growe, Scott Casper, Chantel, a whole bunch, ton. So we sign-ups for $20 tickets purchasers start 9 o'clock Central. No, I think it's 9 Eastern. 9 Eastern, 8 o'clock Central tonight. So now the mad rush is going to go. So,
no, exactly right. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything you said after you mentioned the fact that I had 4 streams and you had 7. So you're flexing on me, right, Jay? So.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Oh, yes, I'm finally wearing Vivi's shirt, Ashrin, Halia. Awesome. These are all the NPCs for Greyhawk Awakening. So you've got all these NPCs here, and on the back, the Mad Chatters are shouted out, and of course, Dungeon Master is on the sleeve. So thank you so much, Vivi. And all Jay has is his, heraldry on his shirt. So, all right. So
someone has one of those T-shirts in this out of these 4 in this box and is hiding it.
I think you're right.
She's smiling a little bit.
Okay, so quickly, the last thing I want to say about sponsors, and we're going to get right into it tonight. So it's going to be a fun session. We're doing some role play. Called it Extended GHA because Sir Harn will be interacting with Shorwyn, the Cavalier, tonight, and you're going to get a little bit of role play happening between Terry and Jay. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be all precursor to what's coming on the joust for us during GaryCon. But before that, I do want to acknowledge our new sponsor, Jay. I don't know if you saw this last night, but I'm so excited, and so I'm going to put this up and kill the ambient music there, and here we go. Our newest sponsor, Ferox. take my money. And yes, he will. All right. Shorwyn. As...
Oh, we're going right into it.
Oh,
okay.
we are. We're jumping right in. Yeah, we're get ready.
Surprise is all about.
There's no preamble, man. We get right to it. Shorwyn, as you stand before Sir Harn in the midst of the free city of Altamira, you see through the keep window the coming and going, the passing by of all of the normal common folk of the city. You think of your steed, Winston, who is stabled outside. Also your sister, who is safely cached away in an inn nearby. And the words of Sir Harn, which were carried before, which were principally of disappointment. You know, his feeling that you did not truly carry forward what he wanted, what he had invested in you, the years as his squire, where he gave himself to you, and yet you come back and say, no, not for me. And he then agrees with you that you will have this promise where your sister and you will be protected under the banner of Sir Harn and his house. But he requires that you defend the honor of the house in the joust. As you're about to turn away, he looks at you. And Sir Harn, and everyone can direct your attention to the screens. There is Sir Harn. He has more to say.
All right. Shorwyn, I appreciate you coming back to Altamira, and it's very good to see you after all these years. What have you learned on the road? What have you learned adventuring that you could take, that you brought back with you? What do you think of the world outside of the county of Ulick?
I think one of the most important things I've learned, and I think it's come to me more recently, is the importance of those who will stand by my side as I fight. It was a surprise. It was unusual. But the four who assisted me in finding Githa continued to help me regardless of the dangers that I put them in.
Question, John, did Harn know about Githa beforehand or no?
Only when he was approached by Shorwyn. So it was last session. He knew, and Shorwyn told him he wanted his sister protected because she's a half-orc and could suffer, the villainy of those who would be prejudiced against her.
Githa, I apologize, Shorwyn. Is this from your father or your mother's side?
It's from my mother. She, shortly before I was born, about a year, she was kidnapped by orcs. She managed to escape, but upon escape, it was found that she was pregnant. She was, as you can expect, used by the orcs.
Well, that is a sad tale, but it sounds like a blessing has come from that, with Githa. So you have blood in this world. I am a little bit of a loss, though, because why do you think that Githa will be persecuted, especially here in the county of Ulick, in Altamira? I am confused. For one of the commanders of the Order of Ulick is a half-orc who strives and fights for good. There are even half ogres in the Order of Ulick.
And Shorwyn, as you walk through the city on your entrance, you saw there were many humanoids, mixed races, something, not anything like you'd seen in Hamlet or the more rural areas, but here in the Free City, you saw much of this.
Yes.
I worry not in the major cities such as this. I worry not about those that are accustomed to beings of mixed races. I do worry outside of here. And my sister's been missing for some time. My parents are dead. And me and my sister are closest among my siblings. I do not want to leave her side again. I will not leave her side again.
So, I understand your love of family, and I understand that there can always be heartbreak. I don't know. You probably have heard this tale. I've told this 100 times to you as we were out adventuring. It has been 30 years since I have donned the crown of champion of the Grand Joust, and in that time and during that festival, I thought I fell in love with a woman, an elven woman, and we had twins of half elven race, and then a year later she left me with them. And I never saw her again. And I had to raise two beautiful girls myself. You know them as Adriana and Honorian. Adventurers. Actually, their adventuring group, worst name ever group, the Omega Patrol. Sorry, I can't help.
I'll delete that from my stream, Jay. That will not be heard on the VOD. Sorry.
Jim, there he
Bleep
is.
it out.
And they have grown, and they have become their own persons. For you to coddle and be with Githa all the time, aren't you depriving her of this opportunity to go out and seek adventure herself?
Maybe sometime in the future she may be ready to go out again. But she was under the control of an orc that very nearly killed me. An orc that put one of our members in dire circumstances.
And he speaks of Stor Gajol.
Evil is everywhere. Evil is in places you do not expect, and places you do. And there are two options. You can ignore it, or you can fight it head on. I've always told you the story of, and it's on my crest, when I slayed the Black Dragon Lindsay, and 3 of my party members were incinerated by acid. It is without a little bit of difficulty, one does not grow. One does not find their own way. I would just suggest to you that you take some time here, reconsider, and then come back to me, and maybe we can find a new path for you. But how does that sound?
Shorwyn, as he says these words, you recall, as you well knew, and you look at the screen, on the heraldry upon the shield you left behind, the Black Dragon. You had heard these stories before, but they seem afresh and anew to you as Sir Harn retails what had happened with that dragon and the sigil of his heraldry.
I cannot deny that there may be time in the future that I may be willing to step up again. But that time is not now. I've watched, and you, of course, are well aware, fighting amongst Cavaliers, soldiers, we expect to see death. Death happens all around us. In a matter of battle, it does not faze me, but I put others in the way of harm so that I could find my sister. I have seen the deaths that, had not for me, would never have happened. I need to reconcile that.
Well, I understand completely that you are on your own course, and I have no aversions toward that. I would wish you the best, and whatever you decide. Note that whenever you come to a decision or decide maybe now it is the time to start adventuring or assisting in a cause, that the world will still be going forward. There will always be evil, there will always be threats. They're all around us, and I may personally ask you to perform a task in the future if necessary, and I would hope that you would heed that call. But in the meantime, something that I've talked to you ever since you were a child, it has been 30 years. It has been 30 years since a member of the County of Ulick has won the title of Champion of the Grand Joust. This event only comes up every 5 years. And I know for a fact there are some pretty vile characters in this year's round of 16, including a mystery Black Knight from the Great Kingdom, which no one knows anything about, including a hired gun mercenary from Ket named Tarish Ming, including some nobility from Celine from House Cartress, and a lady of high standing from the Vale of the High Folk, some friends of ours, some Winchesters, Erin and Emerson, and some other close dear friends to us. But word is that the previous champion, Sir Vargrin the Unmerciful, is trying to break the rules by re-entering. Once you are a champion, you are not allowed. You are held in high regard throughout the lands. It's been tough for me for the last 30 years watching, and I think now of your level of expertise with a lance, you should perform quite well and honorably. And I ask you this as a former squire and as my friend. Please represent the County of Ulick in this competition.
As Sir Harn asked that very question, a servant bumbles in, a tray upon his hand. What? Sir? Oh, Sir Harn, I have gob... Oh, I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt. Please. He takes 2 glasses off, he sets them on the ground. Please forgive me, Sir Harn. And he stumbles out of the room.
No, quite fine. It's okay.
Shorwyn thinks back at the most recent fight that he had atop Winston against the Frost Giant, his lance in his hand, and the damage he was able to accomplish while trying to protect those that were attempting to escape. He looks at Sir Harn. I would be honored for this chance.
Brings me great joy to hear you say that. And note that the rules are pretty straightforward. I'm not sure who you will be seated against in the first round. It is a single elimination tournament, so bring your acuity immediately. It will be a series of 3 passes. Or if someone is unhorsed earlier than that, that is how you were eliminated. So he says, hopefully the draw will be kind to you in this competition. I'm excited to witness this from the stands. I know at least 4 previous champions will be watching in the stands. I know myself, Sir Florim of Highfolk, Baron Drekton of Kesselak, and Elaine Winchester will be watching. It should be a glorious, glorious event in Altamira.
Shorwyn smiles. I expect Winston will be quite up for this.
Wonderful.
He has come into his own since the last you has seen him. A bit more knowledgeable and a bit stronger than even I understand sometimes.
I believe you to be, from my observations of those that I have seen, with the exception of Vargren shows his head again, you will be of the strongest of the 16.
I will do my best to bring honor.
I know you will, and hopefully you will be. Githa will accompany you and witness from the stands as well. It'll be a very momentous day, and it brings excitement to me. And it takes a lot nowadays to do that, he says as he chuckles to you. So we got 2 drinks in front of us?
Yes, they're on the floor. 2 crystal goblets with a very, you know exactly what it is, Sir Harn, the most potent of clear drinks in those goblets.
No. From the city of Tringlee and Lord Peak's Haven itself. One is enough. A toast, a cheer. Drink, guzzle it all at once. The wonderful, I won't even say the name of it. Have the most potent of all drinks, and west of the Lord Mills. And he says, "Cheers, my friend, to a great competition." Whoop. Better make a save versus half your con, or you pass out from it.
And you hear Shorwyn, or Winston rather, outside. The speaking of his name brought the horse's voice out to you as you quaff the drinks. It burns deeply, Shorwyn, down your gullet. It warms you. And suddenly there's a lightness to your sense. You feel definitely the power, the potency of this beverage put before you by the servants of Sir Harn.
Exciting times. May you live in interesting times. Can't wait. Wonderful.
Anything else, Shorwyn?
No, Shorwyn will bow graciously.
There's no need to, my friend. You have earned my respect, and you have earned your place amongst the fellow Cavaliers of the County of Ulick, of Altamira, of the Order of Ulick. So please, no need.
Then I will go and check on Winston and begin preparations.
Wonderful. I will see you in a week's time, give or take a few days.
Okay, well done and bravo. By the way, Terry.
Games Raid, yeah!
Oh, thank you, Troll Lord. Good to see you, my friends.
Chuck?
And we got Jay on with us tonight. He's going to be on just for a few more minutes because, of course, he's got his stream coming up here in a bit.
I got 20 minutes. We're good.
All right, good. But so Terry, what would be your principal observation between the Sir Harn as played by Jay and the Sir Harn as played by me? Because I think there was a difference. What did you see?
Slightly different. When I say slightly, I mean one is completely left field and the other one is on a basketball court.
Exactly.
I apologize for last night. We got our times mixed up, or I would have been on last night. I'm sorry about that, but
No worries, Jay, because it gave me a chance to play Sir Harn as a much more like critical, nasty guy. He was down on Shorwyn for betraying and like all the training and the years of effort he had put in. But you came with the same thing that happened in House Jastrul. So I guess it's just my style versus your style. You're much nicer than I am, I think.
I think Sir Harn's seen everything, right?
Yeah.
He's the champion of the County of Ulick still, even at his older age. And I think, and this character goes back to 1986 with us. All right, so, and I talk about, I looked. He won the joust in adventure number, I'm at 904 now, 105, the Trinley Midsummer Festival. Okay, and that took place in 86, 87. So we're talking about... I was 20 years old when that happened. Yeah, so
I was 15, Jay. So
ago.
yeah, you're older than me, but yeah, I was 15.
Yeah, so that happened a long time ago, and that's the history. And now we have 5 other champions now, 6 champions, and now we're looking for a 7th. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
I can't wait. So Terry, Bill has, and I'm sorry I don't have a pick, has a custom, completely custom. Every character has their own painted miniature, customized Reaper.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With your colors and everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is going to be every single character.
So very cool.
17 of them.
Very cool, Terry, that Bill did all this work right before you retired your Cavaliers. Yeah, so.
Perfect timing.
Well, and John, don't forget, you talked something about the future. There's going to be a second group created.
Shh.
Oh. Too soon?
Let the fans all weep for Shorwyn. Who knows? They may see him again.
Weep. No, they're weeping for Millie.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. So
I'm excited. Really excited.
I am. It's going to be a blast.
Terry, I'm so happy. I'll get you the chainmail rules and everything that we're going to go by. Okay. I'll make sure you have all that, and I'll Discord it to you. Yeah.
Hey, Jay, so real quick, before we jump into the Cavalier, which I want to talk about the two, the mags. So we got Dragon Magazine 72 and then 148. And those two are contrary.
Is that the Elven Cavalier?
What's that?
Is that the Elven Cavalier? 148?
No. 148 is the corrected Cavalier. It was a bit of a snapback on Gary, so we're going to look at that in a moment. But yeah, Unearthed Arcana is 72. But I want to come back to Shorwyn. Sorry, go ahead. What's that?
It's not 72. They're completely different. That's what. Yeah. But go ahead.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yes. Exactly. So, thank you, Troll Lord, for all the subs, for the raid. You guys are awesome. We appreciate that so much. But Terry, tell us about Shorwyn. As your Cavalier status, what were some of the things you liked about him? You had unique elements, they were from Unearthed Arcana, which were influenced by the 83 article by Gary the Chivalrous Cavalier, which included the sub-zero consciousness during combat and other things. So tell us about sort of what you liked about playing Shorwyn.
Well, there's a lot to say about what I liked about playing Shorwyn. He, so obviously having only played 5e previously, Cavalier wasn't something that I had run into or even had heard about. And so when you brought it up initially, I thought, this is really interesting. I'd done Paladin before in 5e, and so this idea of Cavalier was really interesting. I love the fact that the having a mount is very much a focus. One of the things that we didn't get into because we never got to rest was the banner and the followers, which I had done a lot of reading about because I was preparing for that. But we were constantly moving for, I think, almost 2 months of sessions. And so we never had a chance for us to stop and actually put those parts in. But really it's that battle on the mount, which I think is fascinating. The fact that you're going in there full bore with a steed and a lance and taking it to them in the forefront. I think it was all really kind of cool, but of course also had its difficulties. You're not going to take a horse into a dungeon. And so it...
Right. Well, depending on the size of the opening, right? Yeah. So.
And so it changes how you play the character then as well, because how you are with your steed versus without your steed is very different.
So the steed is a critical part of the original Cavalier 1E Unearthed Arcana Dragon Magazine Cavalier. That's this bond with the steed. But there were some other things which you and I worked on, but we didn't. So improving abilities, right? So the idea that your con, your dex, and your strength can get incrementally better, similar to the percentile dice that were used for strength in the original, OG D&D stuff, 1807, 18 double aught, 1837. You could do those same things with all of your dex and your con stats, and then also fame, horsemanship and mounts, followers. I had so much I was just about to get to with your character when you ripped him out from underneath me. So tell me how bad you feel about doing that to me as a DM.
Just simply over the moon. No, I mean, yeah, I feel bad, but I also, it's this combination, right? Sometimes losing a character like that is because there's a certain heartbreak for me as the player as well. But yeah, the followers, I was interested to see how followers worked, right? Because it's another NPC, right? It's obviously a non-player character. How do those? Because you get different amounts at different levels. I pulled up the same document, so I was trying to pop.
You get the retainers, you get the banner wielder.
Yeah,
and so Tim will, if Tim's on, which he is, we call them guys with red shirts. So they are meant not to go into
Star Trek,
the adventures with you, but to be your calling, right? They're to show your status, basically,
right.
And that's it. Right. And they technically could adventure on their own, or could go off and do tasks for you, but and that's the cool thing about it. It's really it builds up your ambiance, in connection with other Cavaliers. I'm really upset that the Cavalier disappeared in 3rd edition because I think it has such potential. As you can tell from my campaign, I love Cavaliers. Right. Now, I don't like everything that they've done with the Cavalier, especially the Unearthed Arcana, which really watered it down, and that's why we went with the 72 version. And the Elven Cavalier is kind of cool too, but yeah, Cavaliers it's an awesome class.
No, it really is, and that's why I don't care about your edition. Like, I pulled this Cavalier into my 3.5 because I think it's so incredible. Yeah. And we'll get to this in a moment if we have time, but this idea of balance. Yeah, the red shirt, Star Trek, that's right, Robert. So, balance can be so out of balance. If you try too hard to make every character class the same in potency, you strip mine the game of its fun. And it's sometimes fun to play a character that has intrinsically less potency as a class, but you do great role play with it, and there are room for heroes. And I just think look at the code of chivalry for the Cavalier I've got up here on the screen. This Dragon Mag 72 Cavalier, I think, I don't care if you play 5E, 4E, well, if you play 4E, whatever, but 3E, 2E, 1E, whatever you play. You Command and Conquer, you play Castles and Crusades, you play anything. Get this Cavalier in your game. It's so, so cool. Now,
it is.
With that said, I really want you to weigh in on this, Jay. The corrected Cavalier.
Right.
This is Dragon Mag 148, written by David Howry. And he basically snaps back on all the stuff that Gary did in Dragon Mag 72. And he refers to the new Cavalier, which is the one that's in Unearthed Arcana. He says why you shouldn't have the increasing strength and ability. So I'll highlight these here on the screen so it's easier to see. This is unfair that they can increase their stats. He says here. The other fighter classes could easily claim they also spend every non-adventuring hour in increasing their ability scores. Cavaliers are now subject to all limitations by race and by gender on ability scores. The protection from fear aura is a semi-magical power, completely beyond a Cavalier's training. The resistance to mind attacks. Of all the Cavalier's powers, this is the most unbalanced in the class. Right here, look at the left side of what I'm highlighting, not the right. Hang on, I knew better than that one. Here we go. Nope, that's not working. Well, all right, you got it all there. So a Cavalier's training should not cover this. So, Jay, you lived through all of this. talk to us about your thoughts on 148 versus 72.
There's a happy medium. You have to use some common sense, and I think they forgot a couple things. Number one, when you start off a character, say you have 16 slash whatever con. Well, if you randomly roll 99 on those dice, you're immediately going to go up to 17 when you roll 2 die 10 when you go up a level. So
Right.
we capped it at /50. So 16 /50, that's where you start, and then you've got to work your way up to train. I mean, and that's not mentioned in it's not mentioned in the original one. It's not mentioned in that article. That's a happy medium as far as starting, you know, with those increasing stats. So they have to work up to get that extra point. I think that was something that was missed, and we've done that for years.
Yes.
I like the Dragon 114 Elven Cavalier, which kind of puts elves in a little separate area, but I like elves can be this Cavalier too. And I don't think either of these articles does elves a lot of justice in that, you know, in that discussion. I really think that the 114 article does more justice to the elves with the Cavaliers, but there are different kinds of Cavaliers in my world. You know, and that's the thing, is not everything is homogeneous. We have really, because of the miniature play, we've really gotten more and more into mounted figures on the table, and that's what's
yeah, like the one that Bill just did for Shorwyn, who's no longer a player in my campaign. Okay, so I love that, because I don't want homogenous PCs in my exactly. So I like the difference in the Elven Cavalier. I like the uniqueness of gnomes and the things they can do. The gnome illusionist, a class unto itself in the old school game, and this overemphasis on balance actually destroys the game, in my not so humble
100%.
opinion. Right, but I think that's I think it's a great thing with the old school classes. And yes, I don't agree with 148. I agree with 72. Let the Cavalier be the Cavalier. Let the Paladin be the Paladin. Let the Gnome Illusionist be wickedly cool. Let the Elven Cavalier be its own class and its own unique thing. And all of last thing I'll say on this topic, and then I want to talk about heraldry and squiring before you leave, Jay, because that's all right up your alley. But of course, Thomas, who plays Alcott on our Sunday sessions, he's only a 5e player. This is his first, older session that he's played. And as we talked about balance, he did not like the fact that in the older games, mages they had lower hit points, and if your con was part of your sort of negative, so if you get to -10, but you have a con modifier, maybe that mage has a 9 con, so it's -1, so he truly dies at -9. And he felt that was unfair compared to a barbarian in the older classes, which might have gotten a D12 for their hit points plus their con bonus. And I challenged him on that, and I hope he's watching, because it was a good discussion. And I said, well, wait a minute, but yes, if you're not trying to overbalance, that mage might be very vulnerable in level 1, level 2, level 3. But if you don't nerf their skills and their spells, when you get to level 7, level 8, level 9, they can be the most potent characters in the game. And this idea that you allow the unbalancing to, over time, balance, to me is critical to the way the game was meant to be played, instead of, everybody has to have the same potency at level 1, which is, I think, where the game is going now. So I'll shut up there. Anybody, Evelyn, Terry, Jay, respond.
You know, my thoughts on the direction of D&D in the last 5 years, as far as, everyone's equal. It's not real world. It's not the way things work. And it's not Tolkien-esque. And I know everyone goes, oh, well, D&D's not, it's based on it loosely, right? So dwarves are not magic users. I'm sorry, they're not, okay? There can be clerics, but they're not magic users.
Right.
Gnomes are illusionists. Elves can be a lot of different classes. Half-orcs have a lot of options, but the flavor of that is, I think that's why you and I, John, are both successful, is people like that we have that flavor in the game. It's one of the aspects that, just an opinion. So. All
right, Evelyn, you've been very quiet tonight. I'm going to demand that you weigh in on this topic, please.
I feel like, I don't know, we've talked about it quite a bit, just in past Loremaster's sessions, but I think that, as far as like balance goes, and balance is not necessarily having everybody equally powerful or equally able to do things. Balance is just finding the way that makes everything work functionally at the table, making it where the party has all of their what makes them function as a party. You know, they all should have their own things that make them useful and want to work together. I mean, if everybody in a party was able to do everything, why are they traveling together? You know, why do they need each other? So that's part of creating that balance, is, you know, having them have reasons to need each other at the most base level of what their classes are. So I think that's a big part of what the older editions have in their favor, I would say.
Yeah, I like that. Go ahead, Terry.
Just to expand on that, a good example actually was last night's Greyhawk at the end, where we were fighting the orcs, and we were all working with each other rather than it's just each of us trying to do our own thing. And I thought that was fantastic from a viewing perspective. Me just watching, seeing what, you know, Evelyn did, then Rory followed on top of that, then Vivi right on top of that. Boom, boom, boom. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, no, well said. And I think that's like, we got Tim on tonight, the ever mysterious Tim, the creator of my crit tables, and that's something he is always looking for, because he's such a seasoned, that's why I have him coming on for GaryCon to talk about strategy and combat tactics and, you know, military armor and all that, because that is the essence of D&D. Each class, each character, each race, they bring unique strengths, and that makes the game a lot more fun than just, you know, everybody is exactly the same. Okay, all right, so before we let Jay go, because I know he's got a stream tonight, he's actually got to run, I want to talk about two things quickly. Number one, squiring. Squiring for a knight, a cavalier. So Sir Harn had Shorwyn as his squire. This is something which is traditional in the medieval style, and so Jay, you've done a lot of this with the Order of Ulek, and it's been critical to all that's happened in the Free City. Talk to us about what that means to be a squire and a knight, and the heraldry and the symbolism of what that is.
So if we're going to put it in the game terms, a lot of it is, because the campaign's so vast and you have multiple groups, a lot of it's more of a mentoring system when it comes down to it in our game, right?
Right.
You have someone you can look to for advice. You have someone who you can who actually send you on missions, and it kind of creates that hierarchy. And so that's what that tends to be how it relates in our game. Now, you know, we try and use a lot of henchman types or squires or, you know, assistants.
Red shirts.
But you know, it tends to be for the RP purpose too. It gives me a way to interact with the group and the party as well, and that's what's cool about it. Now, as the heraldry, you know, that about 3 years ago when I first started streaming, I was like, I had it scratched on a piece of paper, and I'm like, what? I gotta get something out. And Brian Blumklotz, who hasn't, you know, there's one of the noble houses. Yep, there's Gistrul. So
yeah, I got Gistrul. I got all of them.
I decided I had to get something out nicer, and Brian Blumklotz actually made the first couple ones. Then Anna taught me how to use Photoshop, and I was able to really start pumping out heraldry. And you'll note that now that I'm using Portrait Workshop, I'm actually embedding the heraldry on the character sheets, so that everyone goes, "Oh, what's that? Like, who's that for?" And it kind of really, once again, it ties in the background. It gives you, you know, a character background, where they're from, who they serve, what country they're from, what organization or knighthood, and yep, there. So it's right on his armor. And so now that I've actually figured out how to do that kind of stuff, I can make it. And I usually throw my heraldry by Anna to get the thumbs up before I bring out a new piece. So to note that it's, you know, and they are not European medievally rules based. They just can't be. It's a fantasy setting. You know, I can't follow all the rules. Yeah, there you go. Now Jay is dangerous, Anna.
Yeah, exactly. he is dangerous.
Right, Anna?
You taught him.
So absolutely. But,
well, so Jay, before you go, that last point you made there, like, it's not medieval, it's not holding to necessarily, 16th century European tropes.
Right.
That actually helped me with my role play as well, because when I was doing accents or voice acting, oftentimes I was thinking like Scottish, English, whatever it might be. And I watched a stream, I don't know, I forget who it was, a few weeks ago, maybe 3-4 months ago, and they said, it's a fantasy world, don't worry about it. If your accent fades in and out, if it doesn't sound exactly Gaelic or whatever, don't stress about that. It's fantasy. And I think the same thing is true with heraldry. We might hearken, we might touch on the things which are historically accurate, but we should not feel constrained by those things, either in heraldry or role play or anything else, and I think that really frees the game.
Absolutely. You want to have fun with the game. You don't want to be bogged down with all sorts of different rules, and that's why I kind of have a little bit of creative freedom when I'm, especially the Elvish ones. I have no idea what Elvish heraldry rules are. I don't. So I want to make it based on their houses and what they're each known for, and that's kind of how I make the Elvish heraldry. And I still probably have about 1/10 of the heraldry I want in the campaign.
Yeah.
So
no, I love that. Terry, you look like you want to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I just, and you guys are so right on that. I mean, and one of the examples that kind of goes along with that is if you look back at the old Saturday Night Live, when Chevy Chase used to play President Ford, Chevy Chase never mimicked, like he didn't try to completely make himself look or act like President Ford. He was his own version of President Ford. And so the same thing is, what we do in the game is we're presenting our versions of the world and the characters, not what other people are telling us what they are.
True.
Yeah, well said, well said. All right, so squiring, how long would someone squire? How long might Shorwyn have squired for Sir Harn? Is that a 3 or a 5 year?
Well, it depends on what age you started. If you started at 15 or 14, you're probably talking 6 years, 7 years, something like that. Maybe a little, in that realm.
Yeah.
How old's the character now, age-wise?
Character's 30.
Okay,
the original background had him heading out about 14 to Squire, 14, 15, right in there.
That's about right. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so all those years only to betray Sir Harn. Okay, Jay, thank you so much, my friend. I'll let you go to your stream, and I'll watch
see you in a little bit.
I'll watch my viewer count drop.
Women a living Greyhawk. It's going to be a great perspective.
It's going to be awesome. I'll be in there a bit as well, my friend. Thank you, Jay, Lord Gazumba.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Boom, look at that. Like I know what I'm doing. Back to 2, just like that. All right, so,
So good.
we will raid Jay in just a moment. So if you're still here with us, give us about 10 more minutes. Plenty of time. Jay's prepping right now, and we will jump into his stream and raid him in a moment. So we talked about heraldry. We talked a bit about squiring and Cavaliers. Now, let's talk about character transition. Terry, we've seen it with Millie because she died. But you voluntarily sunsetted your character. Talk about why you did that, because the fans are wanting. I've seen so many comments, so many questions. Let's talk about the motivation behind why Shorwyn did what he did, why he's doing what he's doing, and why I'm so pissed off at you.
Well, and we've had this discussion, and for those that have seen me on a couple of things, a lot of people understand that for me the story is more important than anything else. I can love characters, but I will always love the story better. And stories, especially with what we do in this game, I think the stories are what are so fascinating and keep people coming back. And so for me, there was a couple things going on. One, of course, is the finding of his sister, something that honestly, John, I had not expected to happen so early in his game time, and was something that he had been, was really important to him with the loss of his parents. Knowing, in the countryside, his sister may not be looked on as nicely as in one of the major cities. And so finding her, and then what happened to our cleric friend,
Ashrin.
She's on top of John's shirt there.
Ashrin.
Oh, good.
Yeah, cheat sheet.
Ashrin and then Millie, what happened to them, again, with both of those happening because of Shorwyn, or at least in Shorwyn's mind, because of Shorwyn. it was something that greatly affected him. He was used to fighting in battles. He was used to watching other Cavaliers die and soldiers die. He was not used to what he found to be friends going with him and helping him, only to either come close to death or die. It was something that you don't necessarily, or at least in my view of Cavalier, you don't necessarily train as a squire. You're training to be a Cavalier among other Cavaliers and among soldiers and for lords and those sorts of things. But to have people who genuinely cared for him, one of the thought processes he had that never really came out is, what Lilith had done to kind of, as she says, pull away his layers. He didn't want to happen to Lilith what happened to Millie or what happened to Ashrin. Seeing Brim and the kindness in Brim, and yet the strength in Brim, he didn't want to see it to happen to him. He was okay with Gimble dying. No, but seriously, seeing Gimble's death, that was early on for him.
Right.
And seeing how these people cared for Gimble, all of that really affected him much more than what he thought it was going to.
Well, okay, so Robert Phantom said all he heard and all you said, it was all my fault, which is probably true. So, so let's push on that, because you and I had a conversation. Hey, GM, GURPS GM, yes, GURPS GM, good to see you. And Squires are generally in training to be knights. That's exactly what he was, and he became a Cavalier. And pages are the ones that help them put on armor. That's all. You're dead on. So the challenge I had for you, and I want you to answer to the viewers. All right, so this is your accountability moment here, just for the next few minutes. You saw all that. You saw Ashrin. You saw Millie. You saw even your own armor sliced, unconscious twice. All of that happened. And yet, then when you retire to Altamira, you'll be in the joust, and you're taking care of your sister, Githa, as you should. But that means the rest of the party, they're still out there on their own. So they're still facing those dangers, and you are no longer there to help them. How does that reconcile with you as a Cavalier?
Oh, it's tough. It is something he had to make a choice on. His thought was that if he stayed with them, he was going to put them in more danger than them by themselves.
And okay, so I like that. So tell me why. Why would he put them in more danger? Halia didn't seem to be focused on him. She was more focused on Millie. What was it? And I'm not being combative. I'm actually really interested now. Like, why would he have put them in more danger?
Well, it's not rational. That's the thing, John. Here, he's not rational.
Well, that's my problem. I'm so rational. Like, I'm logic.
These are not rational thoughts. These are thoughts of seeing so much pain and injury so quickly, of people who are not knights and Cavaliers and soldiers, and again, his view in his head, because remember, it was his idea to go look for Githa one last time. He literally said, I want to go look for her one more time.
He did.
If we take the other route, I'm not saying that nobody dies. I'm saying in his head, he thinks if we take the other route, if we don't go search for his sister, everybody is still alive and we're fine.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's good. And you mentioned earlier that, like, you didn't expect to find Githa so early in the campaign. Now, early is, session, 20 whatever it was, 70 hours into the campaign. But you were in the same area, and with what you had said, she had been abducted by orcs as part of the violation of your home, and that was all happening right there in that area. So it was perfectly in sync with the campaign, but for Shorwyn felt early, and I think it was almost a resolution of his principal motivation, which was, I think, the challenge you face. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that definitely is part of it. I won't deny that at all. Not to say that a character, I mean, if you look at Rin's backstory, and you've read it, his backstory doesn't have that kind of single motivating thing. And, I did that kind of on purpose so as not to necessarily run into the same thing that I ran into with Shorwyn. But yeah, when you have that single purpose, that single-mindedness, it can create difficulty. And again, I had no problem finding Githa that early. And you're right. When I say early, I mean early for Shorwyn, and because really, if we look at the timeline, Shorwyn's was only with the group what, a month and a half, 2 months.
That's right. Yeah. It wasn't long in real time. Yeah.
Yeah, and so so yeah, you're right. It was. It felt like a bit of a completion with everything else that had happened, again, with Millie and with Ashran.
Yeah, and so I've had many theater people that have played in my games, even back to high school. The group I played with were called the Escapist Society. I was never a theater guy, but I had a lot of theater people that played with me. But I've never had a theater professor. I've never had a collegiate theater, and I should have known motivations would go so deep that you might go utterly right when I thought you would go left, and bravo, sir, well played. I love Shorwyn. I love what you did with him, and who knows? Yeah, he may be seen in more than just the joust coming up here very soon. So, as we conclude, I really feel like I've given short shrift tonight to Evelyn. And so, Evelyn, I'm going to put you on the spot again. And I want you to talk for the next 3 minutes about whatever you want to. Upcoming GaryCon, players, our Discord, our sponsors, Terry, and your background with this scoundrel that has destroyed my campaign. Whatever you want to.
yeah. I've known this guy for, let's see, almost 15 years now. I think it's about, almost 15 years. It's been a while. So we've got lots of fun stuff in the Discord. If you haven't come to the Discord, you should totally check out our Discord. It's awesome. We have a whole lot of fun in there. We make memes. We do RP. We chat about our lives. We share pet pictures and food, and it's amazing. So come join our Discord, because it's fun. We have GaryCon coming up next week.
GaryCon!
We have our normal Sunday stream this Sunday, but we will not be doing Greyhawk Awakening next Tuesday, because GaryCon we will be doing 2 Greyhawk Awakening streams. Woot!
What?
Super exciting! That our Shorn is my favorite. Don't tell me. Excuse me.
Chuck, stop it! And by the way, I know he hurt your feelings, but he hurt mine earlier. He said I have the best creative players, amazing folks. He didn't say anything about the DMing. All right, so I'm mad now. No, I love Trollord. That's great.
And I don't know if you guys saw, but if you read what Extort said, a little up, I think he encapsulates it so greatly. Cavalier is more or less a professional soldier, and he viewed the party, maybe not Brim, as being under his protection and responsibility, but also could he in a way have viewed the party as being unable to face the world, and slowly he gained confidence in them. And then Millie died, which made him think he was too quick or perhaps lax in holding on to his earlier views. That is
wow. Well, so I'm looking. How far up is? Oh, there it is. Got it. Oh, wow. Extort. Yes, sir.
It's a great, concise view of that.
Yeah, more concise than you or I, Terry, right?
I remember actually frequently in the RP, both in text and in the actual RP, Shorwyn viewed Millie as probably the most capable person in the party. He viewed her as kind of an equal fighter to how he viewed himself. And so for her to die like that in such a way, it kind of, I feel like, would probably put some doubts in his own mind about if she can go down like that, what about everybody else? So
exactly. And so for everybody on the chat and everybody watching right now, just so you know, as a DM, I tried to move him in a different direction. Become a paladin. Recognize that the martial strength of your sword and the squiring that you did with Sir Harn and your blade and your armor and your steed were not enough to protect those you love. Turn to your god, become a paladin. And Terry said,
I was much more gentle.
you were. But no, I think it's been so well played, and yeah, you're right. Extort, he killed that, and I think it's been a fun ride. All of our viewers, I encourage you, look at the Dragon Mag 72 Cavalier. Even if you choose not to adopt it exactly as written, it can enhance your campaign, which goes to GaryCon. when I do the Loremaster's Arcanum with the ever mysterious Tim, we talked about this today, and he said, I just don't know if people care about the actual combats and the nature of armor and what these battles look like in medieval times. It's so real, they're not wanting to do simulations. And I said to him, and he agreed, I said, Tim, it doesn't matter. They don't have to adopt it en masse, but it can be inspirational. You know, you can get those bits and pieces of what it was like with heraldry and armor and battlefield combat in the actual Middle Ages and the truisms of that combat. And even if you don't want to adopt it wholly, it can influence you and give you inspiration, and that's what's going to happen this weekend at GaryCon. I'm looking forward to both our GHA sessions, Thursday and Sunday, and our open session on Saturday, and our LMA on Saturday morning. And I kind of like Rin, too. I hate to admit it, Terry, but I do like Rin.
He's going to have... I'm excited to really dig into him with this group, especially with Lilith. I think there'll be some interesting interactions.
Yeah, I see that happening already. So, with that said, we're going to get set for our raid, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And as always, we appreciate our players, we appreciate our viewers, and we have all kinds of good things. Is Jay up yet? Let me see here. I don't see him yet.
Lilith is married to Shorwyn, so I mean there is that.
Wait, there. I think.
She'll have to track him down again.
I think I got him. Yes, I got him. Here we go. All right, rating. I think that's Jay. Yeah, here we go. He's got 9. He's got 26. Or no, I've got 40. I've got 26. I got 44. We're rating Jay. Love Lord Gasamba. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you, all Greyhawk fans. Thank you, Mad Chatters. GaryCon next week, Sunday. Rune Lords, and then everything is paused until GaryCon, coming up 1 week from tonight. Thank you so much. Bye.
Countdown to the stream.
No, the raid is there. Boom, it's done. I hit it. And we raided
with 48.
With 48. Love it.